Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony. Welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. And today what I want to talk about is the next 5 quarterback contracts. I was thinking about doing this concept for different positions, like maybe defensive end, but I don't really want to make it for each and every position. We're going to start off with quarterbacks, and kind of what motivated me to do this is Myles Garrett's signing, and then with Joey Bosa's signing, it was just like, oh God, like it made Myles Garrett seem underpaid. $27 million a year. I think I did that math in I'm pretty sure it's right. Around $27 million a year average value. That's insane. These guys are getting paid. Coronavirus looks like it's not slowing anything down. You take a look at Mookie Betts and all these contracts. Patrick Mahomes, didn't you mention him signing a $400 million deal? So a lot of these teams, they may be making a mistake, but obviously probably coronavirus isn't going to end the next 5 seasons. But we'll see. You never know. You never really know. But let's get into my top 5 quarterback contract list. There's not really like a list and ranking. This is just 5 guys. But yeah, so Deshaun Watson, I want to mention number 1. I was thinking about contracts with him. Like, are they going to sign him long term? I'm like, his health is a little bit of a question, but he's just had, I think, his second straight season of being fully healthy. So you take a look. Okay, he's probably going to be healthy for the next couple years. You have your offensive lineman, Larry Tunsil, for the next couple years. Pay both of them a lot of money. Now, let's take a look at Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill. These are the contracts that have low years, high guaranteed, because you're not too sure how they're going to pan out in the long term. I think this is going to be a short-term contract because Deshaun Watson doesn't trust the Texans. I made a video about it saying, you know what, just trade Deshaun Watson. You could probably get 3 first-round picks, and after Jamal Adams, goes, you take a look at 4 first-round picks. You just need a team that is willing to give up that many assets, and knowing Bill O'Brien, he's only going to get like a second-round pick for him. But I think what the Houston Texans are going to do is maybe franchise tag him for 1 more year or do something like that. But ultimately, I think he's going to get a huge contract. You take a look at the current roster, you have guys like Randall Cobb that are taking up a decent amount of money. Same thing with David Johnson, taking up $11 million on the cap this year. But his contract expires fairly soon because he was given the contract a couple years ago. I believe it expires after 2021, and they can cut him next year for $2.1 million. Randall Cobb is a little bit more of a cap hit, but there are not too many players you're looking at on this team. They need to spend a little bit more money on that offensive line as these guys like Lonnie Johnson and Titus Howard come up for contract, but that's not for the next couple of years. They can get rid of Brandon Cooks pretty easily, so they'll definitely be able to work a way around. If the Chiefs are, be able to find a way, I think definitely the Texans are. They can cut J.J. Watt next year for $0 against the cap. So his contract is expiring soon, so you can completely reset it. It just ultimately depends on how this team's success is with a Deshaun Watson, but I think his contract is going to be 3 years, $135 million. He's going to have it at $120, and then I saw Joey Bosa, and I'm like, oh no, that sort of thing. So next I want to mention Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson, he's a little bit of a conundrum here. So is it a flash in the pan? I watched a video of him running on the beach. I'm like, no, this dude is insane. His athleticism takes a little bit hits harder than you would like, but I think he's going to be long-term sustainable in this league. I see a 5-6 years in his, in his life and his contract, and I think that's pretty much it. I think he's going to start to fade out after that, maybe develop into one of those Michael Vick guys that doesn't really hit a peak later in his career. I don't think he's going to get arrested or anything like that. That's not why I'm making that comparison, but I think that, later in his career, he's not going to be as prolific as he is now. You gotta maximize it, and I think they're gonna sign him to a 5-year deal with a lot of guarantees in the beginning, and then towards the end, if he's no good, you can cut him. Kind of like what Dak Prescott wanted. He's gonna get around $40 to $42 million a year. It's gonna be the second $200 million contract ever. I have him around $42 million a year. I think it's gonna be 5 years, $210 million. And the problem is they are paying a bunch of people: Marcus Peters, Earl Thomas, Ronnie Stanley, a bunch of money. Mark Ingram, a bunch of money. Marlon Humphrey that they're going to have to pay soon. Chuck Clark is a lot of money against the cap, but obviously these guys within the next couple of years are going to be against it. Is that a problem for the Ravens and surrounding them with talent? We've seen that they didn't pay Joe Flacco a bunch of money, but they knew that they regretted it. So you're not too sure. It really does depend this year. If he goes to the Super Bowl, I could see this contract going up to $45 million a year, up to even $50 million a year, believe it or not, 4 or 5 years. That's what I think that his contract can be worked up to. But ultimately, I think Lamar Jackson realizes his brand, realizes, just surround me with talent, running backs, all the things like that. They're not going to have high draft picks, and we see that ruined team. So I think 5 years, $42 million a year is what he's going to have, with a lot of guarantees in the beginning. And yeah, it'll set him up for years and years. Next, Dak Prescott and Cam Newton. Now, these two guys are going to be on the market. I don't think they're going to sign with their team. So we're going to first say Dak Prescott. It feels Raiders to me. He really does. It feels like that bad, like rebellious guy that's not really going to do the thing that you want. He's from the SEC. Not too sure what that has to do about anything, but I feel like he's going to be rebellious and he's going to want to join the Raiders. John Gruden, I could see him liking a guy like Dak Prescott, fast processor, can use his feet, he runs an offense legitimately, and I think that he's going to sign a 4-year, $160 million deal with the Raiders. Now, the Raiders have some hoops that they need to jump through, but they have a very young roster. You're talking about, they're paying Trent Brown, but they just drafted a guy, Jonathan Abram, Cleveland Farrell, Max Crosby. You have a lot of young guys. They may sign a Jadeveon Clowney, but that shouldn't throw a major wrench into this, into this program. Next year, they have a bunch of cap to spend. It's $28 million. But here's what you can do. You can cut a Derek Carr for $2.5 million against the cap, and you save $19 million. So that's already $47 million. You can also cut Trent Brown, which I wouldn't do, but the Raiders have one of the top offensive lines, the Dallas Cowboys, and I think John Gruden can look at him like, oh, this is a project for me. I really like it. They have that defense. They're spending a little bit in Corey Littleton and things like that. You have some certain decent guys growing up like Darren Waller. Richie Incognito is great on that offensive line, and this roster is overall just very solid. It's on the up and up, and John Gruden, if Henry Ruggs hits, man, this offense could be legit. Dak Prescott would love to work with a Henry Ruggs, a Tyrell Williams, and all those guys there. I love it. I completely love it for the Raiders, and they can get him pretty much for cheap unless Dak Prescott gets franchise tagged again, which would throw a huge wrench into it. But I'd do a tag and trade with the Cowboys. But next, Cam Newton. So let's be honest, the Patriots probably aren't going to be that good this year. They're going to be a 7-win team, especially now with all these guys going out. They are a very young team, not going to have a lot of reps. They've drafted well over the past couple years. Well, they drafted a lot over the past couple years. They have a lot of young pieces, but are they going to be able to work out? I don't know. It's a bunch of guys you're taking risk on, like the guy from Lenore Ryan. They have CJ Jackson, I want to say, the corner that they drafted last year from Vanderbilt. But you also have some young, older veterans that are going to be gone soon. So a lot of those younger guys are going to be replacing them. And this team, I think Cam Newton's going to be like, okay, over and out, I'm gone here. Do the Patriot way, show that I can focus on a team, and then leave. And he's going to join the Cowboys, I think, with Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy signed a 5-year deal. I think Cam Newton's going to sign a 3 to 4 year deal with the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to show a lot of flashes next year. May not make the playoffs, but it's going to be enough. Cam Newton's only playing for $1.1 million this year. Shows that he can take a discount. Is he going to take a big discount next year? No. But I think he's going to sign for 3 years, $90 million, fully guaranteed. He's going to get that Ryan Tannehill treatment. Maybe even 3 years, $100 million. It's going to be somewhere around there. And what he brings to this offense, you have a bunch of deep threats. Now, he doesn't really work well with deep threats. That's my main problem with this. But you have a solid run game, a guy that he can dump it off to, similar to a Christian McCaffrey. Ezekiel Elliott's not amazing out of the backfield. It's not the best fit. But you're talking about brand fit, Cam Newton, Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be really good. And the first thing I thought when this came up is, what about the money? Well, it's going to be a little complicated, especially with a deteriorating offensive line, in my opinion. I know it's kind of like a popular opinion to say, Dallas's offensive line is getting older, but it's kind of true. You have Lyle Collins that signed up to 2024. He's not really playing amazing over the past couple years. You signed Jalen Smith. You signed Amari Cooper. So they don't have a lot of money to spend next year. But that's still decent. They have $30 million to spend next year. That's just Dak Prescott, basically. You're not really paying that many people that much more money. You lost out on Jamal Adams. They do need help a little bit more in the secondary, but they're not going to have to trade for anybody. Take a look. You get a decent cornerback this year, some decent, developing prospects. I think that, you take a look at Cam Newton, it's like, okay, this guy can be insane. 3 years, around $90 to $100 million. That's my guess. And the last 3 I want to mention, it's kind of like all in the same one. Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, not Josh Rosen, but what they all have in common is that they were drafted in 2018. I'm going to give my little insight about what's going to happen. Allen, I think it's going to be the Winston route. I think they're going to ditch him after 5 years. Sayonara, I think that he takes too many hits. I don't think he's developing to that great a passer. I believe he hasn't had a 300-yard game in his career. You take a look, he struggles against the Patriots. Good quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, the mobile ones, are successful against those teams. They can process. They show flashes. Josh Allen hasn't really shown flashes. Really, he's done well in like the mediocre games, but against the elite talent, you're not too sure. So I think that, you take a look at the coach, I forget, Sean McDermott. He's going to be like, okay, let's move off. And so I think it's going to be Jameis Winston route. I think they're going to franchise tag him for that 5th year. But, the Jameis Winston, Mitch Trubisky thing. Sam Darnold, it all depends on team success. It's a lot like Deshaun Watson. If they can make some playoff games, if they can win some things, good. But I'm taking a look at this roster. You feel like they made a lot of good moves, but you're stuck with Mekhi Becton at left tackle and then George Fant at a right tackle, and their guards are pretty weak. And then their defense all has CJ Mosley, who may be gone in a couple years. So you're not too sure about this defense. Their defensive line you think has some good prospects coming up, but it's a little bit questionable there. But, Joe Douglas has shown that he can do well. He may just look to completely roster reset, because we take a look. Usually when you have a young guy with a young contract, you spend a lot. They've been retracting a lot. And finally, Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to take the Dak route. It's just like, okay, we've won 7 and 6 games. It may not be a lot, but without me, you sucked. So I think that the Browns are going to be kind of confused, not sure what to do. But these decisions are not for another 2 years. I think it's going to be very similar to the Dak Prescott situation, where they're going to franchise tag him. By then, the franchise tag is going to be like $45 million a year. It's going to be insane. But I think that the Browns, we owe something to Baker Mayfield. Even though it's kind of a different situation with a 4th round versus a number 1 overall pick, I feel like they're going to want to pay Baker Mayfield. And I wonder what that, franchise tag is going to be. It's going to be insane. But they have a bunch of talent on this team, like the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to pay guys like Myles Garrett, Odell, Jarvis. Odell might be gone by then, but you guys understand what I'm saying. And then by the time it gets to him, it's just like, oh yeah, we have no money left. But hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think. What type of contracts are these guys going to get? And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.